All right, guys, you know what time it is. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy XIV Chocobo Racing today. We're going to go over all the basics, and then we're going to get into a little bit of like advanced technique and some tips and tricks. If you need to know something very specific about Chocobo Racing, look at the time codes in the description. Don't just go through this whole video waiting for me to say the thing that you're looking for. If you're looking for something specific, or even if you want to just browse the timestamps to see what would be most applicable, you can do that. Otherwise, you can watch the whole video. We're going to start from the very, very beginning. We're going to start from scratch. Chocobo Racing is an exciting competition at the Gold Saucer that makes use of specially trained chocobos, from improving their abilities through rigorous training to breeding retired chocobos for their traits. You can raise the champion chocobo you've always wanted today. If you're brand new to Chocobo Racing, first thing you're going to need to do is get to the Gold Saucer. Getting to the Gold Saucer requires that you're level 15 and you must complete one of the Envoy main scenario quests. You can check the description of this video for more information on that. Once you've created one of the Envoy main scenario quests and have gotten to the Gold Saucer, obtain and complete the quest So You Want to Be a Jockey. You can obtain this by going to the Chocobo Square and speaking with the Race Chocobo Registrar. Once that quest has been completed, you can head over to the Central Shroud and complete the quest So You Think You Can Ride This Chocobo. To acquire a racing chocobo, register your chocobo, and begin racing, you must first proceed to the Chocobo Square by speaking to the lift operator, Sathirith, at the entrance square. After completing the prerequisite quest, you can register your chocobo. In the event that you accidentally discard your registration form or wish to acquire a new racing chocobo, a new registration form can be purchased from the Feather Trader NPC at Bent Branch Meadows in the Central Shroud. After acquiring your registration form, speak to the Racing Chocobo Trainer NPC at Chocobo Square to complete the registration of your chocobo and give it a name. To enter a race, speak with the Race Chocobo Registrar NPC at the Chocobo Square to select from the races available at your rating. Players who wish to practice the basics of Chocobo Racing can repeat the training course as many times as desired. It's also possible to enter races via the Duty Finder, providing that you have played through the Chocobo Race tutorial. As you continue to enter races and your chocobo gains experience, it'll grow stronger and its rating will increase. A high rating will earn you entry to races in higher classes. To view your race chocobo's rating, select character from the main menu, followed by Gold Saucer, then Chocobo from within the interface. A race will conclude when all participants have crossed the finish line, or 30 seconds after the winner is decided. The results will be determined at this time with MGP and experience points awarded based on your performance. Furthermore, among those who finished between 1st and 7th place, one person will be selected via roulette to receive bonus experience points. Accelerating increases the rate at which your chocobo's stamina gauge depletes. If you run out of stamina, your speed will drop and you'll be unable to accelerate for the remainder of the race. When neither acceleration nor deceleration, the chocobo will gradually return to its normal running speed. Scattered throughout the course are magicked panels, which bestow various effects when triggered. Be mindful, however, that magic plates can bestow both beneficial and detrimental effects. Should you choose to avoid one of these panels, you can either steer away from it or jump over them. In addition to magicked panels, you may come across treasure coffers containing race items. Race items will be added to your hotbar automatically. While some offer beneficial effects for you and your chocobo, others can be used to hinder your opponents. Chocobo races are held outdoors, therefore subject to varying weather conditions. However, certain chocobos can turn this to their advantage. For instance, some chocobos perform well under cloudy skies, while others thrive in storms. Players can receive a number of beneficial effects when racing their bird's preferred conditions. You can improve your chocobo's performance in races in two different ways. The first is by participating in races. As you continue to enter races and your chocobo gains experience, its rank will increase automatically, improving its attributes and occasionally granting a new ability. You will also gain entry to races in higher classes, and will have the opportunity to retire your race chocobo after it has received rank 40. Should you wish to develop a given attribute, you can give your race chocobo a special feed. This feed can be crafted or purchased from the Tack and Feed Trader NPC in the Manderville Gold Saucer at the Chocobo Square. A quick rundown of all the different stats that your Chocobo can learn. Maximum speed affects how your Chocobo can run. Acceleration affects how quickly your Chocobo can attain maximum speed. Endurance affects how long your Chocobo can run before becoming exhausted. Stamina affects how quickly your Chocobo's stamina gauge drains. And Cunning affects how effectively your Chocobo can navigate a course without slowing down. Race Chocobos can possess two types of abilities: hereditary and acquired abilities, and are allowed one of each. Hereditary abilities are inherited by the offspring of chocobos used in covering, while acquired abilities are learned as your bird increases in rank and via training manuals. Certain abilities are always active during the race, while others can be used at the rider's discretion. Manually activated abilities may only be used once per race. From rank 10 onward, race chocobos that have yet to learn an acquired ability may do so upon random when winning a race. To teach your chocobo a specific ability, you can use training manuals purchased with MGP. A race chocobo acquired through covering will inherit one ability from one of its parents. To unlearn a race ability, you must first purchase a bottle of Leith water, then speak with the race chocobo trainer NPC at the Chocobo Square. Please note, however, that only acquired abilities can be unlearned, not hereditary. If you choose to retire your race chocobo, you can arrange a covering with another chocobo to produce fledglings of a higher pedigree. Before a covering can be arranged, you must complete the Like Sire Like Fledgling quest. Requires you to be level 15, and this quest is also acquired in the Chocobo Square. This quest will become available once you have a racing chocobo of rank 40 or higher. To acquire a coupling, you must be in possession of at least one retired chocobo registration form, which can be obtained by retiring a rank 40 or higher chocobo. A covering can be arranged between two of your own retired chocobos, or between one retired chocobo and a breeding chocobo hired at the Manderville Gold Saucer. To retire a race chocobo, speak with the race chocobo trainer NPC in the Chocobo Square. When retiring your race chocobo, you will be given the opportunity to offer parting words to your chocobo, praising one of its two abilities. The ability praised will remain as its hereditary ability to be passed down through covering. Also note that a race chocobo cannot be re-registered once it is retired. When you have prepared the chocobos for covering, speak with Catering in the North Shroud at Moogle Gift Mounts. Upon payment, Catering will take the two chocobos into her care and will receive a proof of covering, which indicates when you can retrieve your fledgling chocobo. Speak with her again at the appointed time to receive your new racing chocobo. A small note here, the fledgling chocobo will inherit its color from one of its parents. After the appointed time, speak to Catering to exchange the proof of covering for your fledgling. And that's the basics. You're off to the races. All right. So I basically went through all of that first basic stuff pretty robotically, as it's pretty straightforward. Now let's get into the advanced lessons in pedigree and star rating. This is for some of you who want to dive a little bit deeper into what's going on. Again, it's going to sound pretty robotic because I have all this stuff written down and I just want to share it with you in pretty much the most straightforward way possible. And I also don't want to leave out any details, as a lot of this stuff gets kind of technical. So if I sound like a robot from this point forward, I apologize for that. Also, if you've made it this far, again, like usual, please leave me a sub, leave me a like, leave a comment on the video, and I'm starting to live stream right here on YouTube. So you can find me here streaming sometimes, which is pretty cool. All right, let's get into it. Advanced lessons in pedigree and star rating. Each level of pedigree increases all of your attribute maximums by 40. Having higher attribute maximums results in proportionately higher attribute gains from rank ups and from training. Anytime a chocobo would gain attribute points, they also get a bonus of +1 for every 100 points of maximum in that stat. You can see your current chocobo's pedigree level in the pedigree tab of your race chocobo window. Now let's talk about star rating a little bit. You may have noticed that your stats aren't always the same. If you flip over to the pedigree tab of your race chocobo window again, you'll see a lot of star icons along the aforementioned pedigree level. Each of the 5 attributes has a certain number of stars lit from 1 to 4. Each star your Chocobo has lit up in the star rating selection further increases that respective attribute's maximum by 40. For instance, if two Chocobos have the same pedigree but one has a 1-star Cunning rating and the other has a 3-star Cunning rating, the latter Chocobo's Cunning maximum will exceed the former's by 80 points. Pedigree determination of a baby Chocobo. The pedigree level of a Chocobo doesn't change through its lifetime, but instead is determined when it's born based on its parents' pedigrees. The determination is fairly simple. The baby's pedigree will always be equal to the pedigree of the lower pedigree parent, plus 1. If both parents have the same pedigree, the hatchling will be their pedigree plus 1. For instance, a pedigree 3 and a pedigree 9 Chocobo will produce a pedigree 4 Chocobo, and a pedigree 6 and pedigree 6 Chocobo will produce a pedigree 7 Chocobo. There is no randomness to this process at all. Another implication this has is that since at least one Chocobo must be one you raised when breeding, the only way to get to the maximum pedigree of 9 is to go up one pedigree at a time per Chocobo. You've probably at least raised, retired, and bred your pedigree 1 Chocobo, and you'll have to do that again with pedigree 2, 3, 4, and so on until you reach pedigree 9. The inheritance of star ratings. The short and simple explanation of how this works, basically what you're looking at is you're looking at the grandparents of the new fledgling you're trying to make. So your new fledgling is going to have a 25% chance of getting whatever stat was associated with either sets of its grandparents. So if we take stamina, for instance, the new fledgling is going to get the stamina star rating of either its father's mother and father or its mother's mother and father. It's got 2 sets of grandparents, so a 25% chance to inherit the stats of all 4 of those Chocobos. Breeding capacity. Note that each Chocobo you retire can only be bred a total of 10 times in its lifetime. You can see how many times you can still breed a retired Chocobo by looking at the breeding capacity field of your retired Chocobo registration form in your inventory. Currently, a retired Chocobo registration form with 0 remaining breeding capacity has no value other than sentimental, perhaps. Let's talk about Chocobo rating a little bit. Your race Chocobo's rating is based on 2 things and 2 things only: the sum of your maximum attributes and your current rank. Note that if the result is not a whole number, it will be rounded down to a whole number. But what does all this mean? This has a couple interesting implications. First and foremost, the higher your Chocobo's maximum attributes are, the higher you're going to ascend through the classes and the higher your Chocobo is going to end up. Second of all, the training doesn't affect your rating whatsoever. So don't worry about training your Chocobo is going to increase its rating, because it's not. Third of all, because of the way rank up gains work, this means that your rating will be approximately equal to the average of your current attribute levels, ignoring gains from training. In fact, if your maximums are all identical, your rating will be exactly the average of your stats minus training bonuses, rounded down to a whole number. Now we're going to go into much more depth on the 5 Chocobo attributes. Square Enix doesn't do a very good job of explaining what these 5 attributes do, and if you've seen these attributes and looked them up online, you may have had a hard time figuring out exactly what they do. Maximum speed. Perhaps the most straightforward attribute, maximum speed determines how fast your Chocobo can potentially go under normal conditions. A Chocobo with a maxed out maximum speed stat of 500 can potentially travel approximately 50% faster than a starter Chocobo in normal conditions. An important thing to know about maximum speed is that increasing it without increasing stamina endurance will also cause your stamina efficiency to drop, potentially drastically. Maximum speed is an important attribute, of course, and it's almost always maxed in endgame, but unless you invest in stamina endurance as well, you will have to conserve a lot. Having higher maximum speed makes stamina tablets better, as it allows you to cover more distance during the 10-second infinite stamina period. Acceleration. Another fairly straightforward attribute, acceleration makes your Chocobo accelerate faster when the forward key or button is pressed. Ultimately, the amount of time it will take you to reach your maximum speed from your starting speed depends on how high your acceleration attribute is compared to your maximum speed attribute. Low acceleration and high maximum speed means you'll take a long time to reach maximum. High acceleration and low maximum speed means you'll reach it almost right away. From a practical standpoint, acceleration does 3 things. It makes you have a faster start if you don't have the head start ability. It makes you less adversely affected by grav balls, since you accelerate back to your max speed faster after the initial slowdown. It makes you less adversely affected by the course hazards, since you accelerate back to your maximum speed faster after the slowdown effect is finished. It can also occasionally help you get out of an enemy briar caltrip faster if it's really high, but this is usually not terribly reliable. Acceleration is commonly considered the least important stat on just about any build, so raising it is seldom a priority. Endurance. Endurance is one of the more complicated attributes, and one for which the official description isn't that great. It says that it affects how long your chocobo can run before becoming exhausted. Before I tell you what that really does, I'm going to explain the lathered status and how it relates to stamina consumption, because the two are very closely linked. The training course tutorial, along with the endurance explanation, implies that the lathered stat results from your acceleration for too long. This is misleading. In actuality, you are lathered if your speed exceeds a certain threshold, which will from now on be called the lathered threshold. Basically, if you're going faster than your lathered threshold allows, you'll be lathered, otherwise you're not. What endurance does then is increase your lathered threshold. It thereby allows you to go faster without being lathered. There's another important thing about the lathered status, however. The more your current speed exceeds your lathered threshold, the more strongly lathered affects your stamina usage. If you're just barely over the threshold, the stamina consumption penalty will be relatively light, but if you're way over it, your stamina can potentially burn at a ridiculously fast rate. So basically, this means that endurance does two things. Increases how fast you can go without being lathered, thereby making you able to go faster while still conserving stamina, and decreases your stamina usage in general when you're full sprinting, since increasing it makes the gap between your lathered threshold and your maximum speed smaller. In other words, endurance is important. It's not quite as important as stamina is to your stamina economy, but it has a noticeable impact on it. Stamina. Stamina is probably the simplest attribute. It does exactly what it implies it does. It increases the size of your stamina pool, effectively meaning you use less stamina provided all your other attributes remain the same. Every chocobo stamina bar has a numerical value, like HP and MP in the game proper, that is not normally shown, with the percentage being shown instead. Starting chocobos with very low stamina attributes have just over 1,000 points of stamina. Chocobos with a maximum stamina attribute of 500 have roughly 2,000 points of stamina. This means that each 100 points of stamina attribute you get will increase the size of your stamina pool by roughly 1/5 of its original value. Notably, there are a few ability effects which restore a flat amount of stamina measured in points, not percentages, such as Choco Ease, Choco Calm, Choco Re-Raise, and Choco Drain. Since these are not percentage based, this basically means that these effects will restore a much lower percentage of your stamina bar if you have a high stamina attribute. This makes effects such as this more potent in the early game than they will be in the end game. Notably, increasing your stamina attribute does not reduce how much Briar Caltrops and Chocobo Meteors hit you for, as both of those items deal stamina damage equal to a percentage of your maximum stamina. It does, however, reduce how much stamina you lose in total as a result of an enemy Bacchus Water. Cunning. Cunning is another stat for which the official description is very misleading. There are a lot of theories about what Cunning does, but most of them incorrectly believe it has something to do with strafing. It doesn't. Instead, Cunning improves both your traversal speed and stamina efficiency in certain sections of track, which the guide will hereby refer to as rough terrain. Rough terrain is generally anywhere the course that is either partially submerged in water or a steep uphill incline. Considering the layout of each course, that means that Cunning is important in Costa del Sol and Tranquil Paths, but less so in Sangoli Road. There is still an absolute ton of shit that we could go over in this video. There's a lot of other things we can do. I'm going to be creating an advanced and an expert tutorial guide for Chocobo Racing next week and the week after, along with a Chocobo lore video, which I'm pretty excited about. So stay tuned for those things. Make sure that you follow the channel, you hit sub, and also save this video somewhere if you're getting into Chocobo races. That way you can access it easily later, like if you forget what some of the attributes do and so on. Also, you can catch me on YouTube live most days of the week, and especially on the weekends. So until the next one, have a good one, guys.